Hello, welcome to the Ghost of Harrenhal. My name's Simon.
And I'm Mackelly.
Thank you for joining us for episode 238 of our chapter-by-chapter book review of A Song of Ice and Fire by George Martin. Today we'll be discussing chapter 12 of A Feast for Crows, that's Cersei 3.
And you probably know the drill by now. We're going to chat about the chapter and try not to spoil any future plot points for you. And hopefully we're going to provide you some entertainment along the way.
We'll summarise what happened, discuss our thoughts on it, provide some useful background, compare it to the television show, indulge in a little pedantry, and cover some relevant news and listener correspondence. Be sure to check out the show notes. They'll provide additional information about the characters and geography of this chapter. How are you, Mackelly?
I'm doing all right. How about you?
I'm okay. A little discombobulated by our technical hitches getting going here, but otherwise, I'm doing all right.
We tried to start a half hour early, and we are now 6 minutes over the time we were supposed to start. So,
yes, it's a shame.
Best laid plans, I guess, as they say. It's good. It's good to see you for the second day in a row, at least virtually speaking.
That's true. We had the sustainer call yesterday.
Yes, we did.
And it was fun as usual.
It was.
A second chapter to your thesis on cereal.
I know.
These poor people.
I got a little into the weeds on cereal, and one of our sustainers, George, comes from the UK and didn't know any of the cereals basically that I was referring to. So for him, he must have just been like, "What am I spending my?" Plus, he's 5 hours ahead of us.
I know.
So
he stayed up late at night to listen to this gibberish.
I could talk passionately about cereal pretty much all day, every day.
It's true. So I played soccer today for the first time in 6 weeks. I played on the field soccer. My foot hurts a little bit, and my team still sucked. We lost 5-0. So
yeah, this has been a rough one. Really has.
Oh yeah. That's 33 goals conceded in 7 games.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and the games are half the length of a normal soccer game. So
yeah, and soccer is not a sport where 33 goals in 7 games is something that one would even consider. I would imagine.
I mean, you can have a flurry of goals, but yeah, something's gone horribly wrong when that happens.
Yes.
My poor team, they work so hard to get thrashed as well. Really
were you in goal again, or were you out?
No, I was playing on the field. And
okay.
It didn't help. It didn't. Well, partly because I'm so out of shape from the long layoff.
That wasn't the antidote to what ails the team is putting you back.
It will be part of the antidote, but we're missing a bunch of other people too. That's the real problem. And
are they scheduled to come back in time?
All of them except my number 1 draft pick. He is not coming back.
Okay, well, that's the thing about draft picks, right? They're not guaranteed to work out, I guess.
Do you remember when we used to play fantasy football and I used to sort of I just was a curse to whoever I drafted first? You remember Tom Brady missed a season?
Yes, that was the year you had him. I remember making an offer to you, a trade proposal. I wanted running back Steven Jackson, and I was going to say
the same name, Steven Jackson.
Randy Moss, and you were like, "No, Rich tells me not to give up a running back for a wide receiver." And Randy Moss had a career year, and Steven Jackson spent most of the season injured. So, yeah, you do have a bit of a curse there, I guess.
Yeah.
I just need you to play again and take a lot of Ravens and Bengals and Browns. If you wouldn't mind.
I had a long weekend at the beach, which was very nice.
Yes, you did.
Yeah. North Carolina beaches in May, it's a good thing. It's a good combination because they're not too crowded yet. And the weather was lovely. The seawater was, it was brisk, but it wasn't cold.
So you went in?
I went in brave them multiple times, yeah.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. I don't think I would have joined you unless you guilted me or forced me.
No. It really wasn't so bad. It was, especially because it was hot on the beach. Once you were laying in the sun for a while, it was like, oh, I need to cool off. Aha!
And we did have good weather for such an event.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The only slight snag was, I went with friends. The 4 of us went, and me and the other guy both thought we were coming home on Sunday. but we were coming home Monday after work, and the wives both knew this, and me and the other guy were like, really?
So you were all packed up Sunday morning, ready to go.
No, it transpired. The message got through to me by Saturday that we were staying, but by that time I'd already packed for the outward trip, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
So Monday at work, I'm wearing a dirty swim shirt.
Oh, well, it was virtual, right? I assume you worked virtually, so that's okay.
So, have you watched The Three-Body Problem yet?
We have finished it, and in fact, you know, our listeners know, you and I have an affinity for that show. Stacy even loved it.
Well, here's the interesting thing. I started watching it for the third time.
Okay.
So I watched the first episode by myself. Then I watched it with my son. And then when we went to the beach, I watched it with my friends Alex and Natalie. And Alex read the book and loved it. Natalie read the book and didn't like it.
What?
But after episode 1, she was like, oh, that's really good. And so we watched episode 2 while we were there. And she was like, this is really good. So yes, there you go. It perhaps appeals to the non-aficionados as well.
Yes. Yeah, sometimes shows do that, Like Stacey would never read A Song of Ice and Fire, but she enjoyed Game of Thrones.
Good point.
So I had a weird start to my day.
Do tell. You had toast.
Yeah, I had toast. I did not. I had crackling oat bran mixed with grape nuts, with blackberries, blueberries, and strawberries. So Stacey and I walk 3 miles just about every morning. We walk out and around the school. We're very near Molly and previously Ethan's school, and the schools are like elementary, middle, and high school. The buildings are all on one complex, and we walk around that. And it's about 3 miles, almost like door to door. It's about 3 miles. Anyway, this story begins, as many stories do, sweetly and innocently, because also on this walk is the community library. And we could see a bunch of police vehicles and stuff with their lights on.
I know that because when I come to your house, I look for the library sign. The library sign clues me in. That's when your turn is. Yeah.
It is. I could probably throw a baseball and get pretty close. 2 tosses, I could get there.
Right.
Anyway, as we were walking past, we could see police cars, lights and stuff. But we could tell it wasn't any kind of serious thing because there was a lot of little kids on bikes and a lot of parents. And so we were like, I wonder what that is. And we walked past, and then all of a sudden, a very slow-moving police cruiser is moving down the street, and all these little boys and girls are riding their bikes and scooters and stuff along behind it, and it was escorting them to the school, which is just down the street a bit. So it was very cute, very sweet. We did see a few wipeouts. One girl's chain popped off her bike, so, it wasn't without drama. But for the most part, it was very sweet and cute, wholesome and all that. And then we round the corner and we walk up past the elementary school. That was wasn't the high school kids. I guess I should clarify.
Understood.
Yes, it was the elementary school. I should have led with that. And we walked past the elementary, so we left the little kids and the police officers behind us. And we round the corner of the high school, which is the 3rd building. And the road along the high school, I could see something in the road had been, unfortunately, run over.
And it was an animal, not a child, right?
An animal, yes.
Okay,
Thank you for asking that clarifying question. As we get closer, I notice it is an enormous turtle. I don't mean like a box turtle. It is like a sea turtle-sized turtle. We have a lake near us. That's why my neighborhood has the word lake in it. And so it got about halfway across, and it was a bloody scene. But its little tail was still moving.
Oh.
And so I was like, I don't know what to do. So we have a vet just down the street. And so I called the vet, and they were like, there's nothing we can do. We recommend, here's the number to the turtle, I can't think of the right word.
Sanctuary?
The Turtle Hospital. We'll say that. The Turtle that's not the right name, but we'll go with Turtle Hospital. So I call them. I get this very nice lady named Emma on the phone, and I explained to her what's happened, and she was like, can you bring it to us? And I was like, whew, boy, you're really testing my, how much sympathy do I have here? And I was like, so no one could come out? And she's like, no, we don't really have that ability. And I was like, okay, I'll see what I can do. But we were walking, so we had to finish about a mile of walk back to the house. We get back to the house. I load up my trusty old minivan. Stacy's with me. She puts garbage bags down in the back of the van. I grab some shovels, and we drive up there. And I'm steeling myself as I'm turning onto the street.
I would be too.
I'm girding my loins like, can I do this? I can do this. I'm an adult. I can handle this. So we pull up, and the poor thing, he or she had stopped moving. Which was, the lady, Emma, the sweet lady on the phone said, if the turtle is beyond rehabilitation, we can euthanize the turtle. And that's what I wanted. I wanted it to be out of its misery. I could tell it was not going to bounce back by how smushed it was. But anyway, so rough start to my morning.
Yeah. Well, actually, I have a quick animal anecdote, not as horrible. I don't know. Do you ever see deer in your yard?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah, you're just a little bit more leafy than I. Well, not more leafy, but a little bit further out of town, and just. Yeah. We rarely see them, but we had one in our driveway this morning. Carson grabbed a photo of it as she left for work. And when she got to work, she saw a snake, and she took a photo of that too. And I was like, it's quite the animal day. I'm quite terrified of deer, honestly. I mean, really? I realize that those are huge animals just be walking around amongst us. I'd be scared of a cow if it just wandered down my driveway.
Well, yes, cow I could see. It outweighs a deer by a bit, but okay.
It does, but I mean, deers are bigger than dogs,
They are. Yes, they are. And usually pretty passive creatures, but go on.
Yeah, and tend to flee rather than fight, but...
Yes.
But yeah, Carson's all into the animals now because she's doing this, this environmental teaching. So she's constantly pointing out animals and flora and fauna. And
all right, yeah, good.
I refuse to believe that snakes exist, and so when she brings back photos, it's just Photoshop. And I have to ask if the kids buy into this, if they're terrified. And she's like, oh no, they all want to see the snake. I'm like, good grief.
Well, us Americans, we grow up with snakes.
Yeah.
You kind of are thrust into the snakes as an adult, so I can understand.
Yes, after I got used to not ever seeing them.
Right.
All right, let's get down to business. How did we leave Cersei Lannister? Last we saw of Cersei, she was attending her father's funeral, then fending off condolences from the lords and ladies of the court. She heard of the coin from the Reach in the jailer's cell and immediately thought the Tyrells were plotting against her. Rather than accept the role as Hand of the King, her uncle Kevin said he wanted to be named King Regent and for Cersei to leave for Casterly Rock. Finally, against her inclinations, she agreed to set a date for Tommen and Marjorie's wedding. Mackelly, why don't we give the summary of this one?
All right. Well, Cersei's in a state. She hopes for a storm that shakes the foundation of the castle to match the rage inside her. It's the wedding of Tommen and Marjorie that has her so furious. She thinks it's too soon after Joff's death for his bride to remarry. But the Tyrells were pushing for a fast betrothal, and she needs them too badly to offend them by waiting a year or two as she would prefer.
Her brother Jaime has taken all the precautions he can muster to keep the young king safe. Gold cloaks will escort the food servants, Sir Boris Blunt will taste all food before the king eats it, and Maester Balabar will be on hand with anecdotes.
He's got some good stories.
Yeah, the king died again. Well, let me tell you. Cheer up, Cersei, you've got a daughter. Try the veal. Well, maybe not.
I'll be here all night. Don't forget to tip your waiters.
And Maester Balabar will be on hand with antidotes to multiple types of poisons.
Cersei wants more. She wants Jaime inside the marital bedchamber tonight. Cersei resisted the idea of the king and queen sharing a bed altogether. However, the Tyrells pushed the subject until a compromise was reached. They'll share a bed tonight only, even though consummation is some years off.
Jaime has torn the Tower of the Hand apart, looking for Tyrion and Varys, but no luck. Cersei will take a different approach. She plans to burn the tower to the ground. That will smoke out any rats still hiding in it. Cersei envisions building a new castle when the war ends, across the river. She'd rather rule from Casterly Rock, if truth be told, but Jaime says that's a terrible idea. Tommen's claim to the Iron Throne isn't questioned, because he sits the throne. Remove him, and he'll just be another claimant.
Cersei is aware. It's just a wish, not a plan. Jaime also concerns about the flames from the Tower of the Hand damaging the rest of the castle. If so, it'll be a lesson to our enemies, Cersei thinks. Jaime says now she sounds like Mad King Aerys. Cersei wonders how she could have ever loved such a wretched creature. Jaime, not the Mad King. Guess I should clarify there. Once he was her other half, now he's like a stranger to her.
The wedding is a simple affair compared to Joffrey's to the same woman. The venue is the Royal Sept instead of the Great Sept of Baelor. A mere 7 courses instead of the 77 for Joffrey. Less than 100 in attendance versus the thousands previously. Cersei, dressed in black, is miserable and considers how the Tyrells forced her into this wedding, a fact she won't soon forget. When the ceremony is concluded, there are shouts of celebration to the young queen and the old.
During the receiving of congratulations, Cersei discusses with her Uncle Kevin how the man is soon leaving for another wedding. It seems Castle Derry has been freed of the broken men, and Lancel is to wed his bride there. In other Riverland news, rumors are the Hound has been raping and pillaging the areas near salt pans. Cersei tasks Kevin with bringing her the Hound's head.
Cersei thinks of how disobedience has its consequences. She named 2 cousins, Castellan of Casterly Rock and Warden of the West, respectively, leaving Kevin without either station. As Jaime escorts her to the small hall, Cersei spews venom about the Tyrells and questions Margaery's claim of virginity. Jaime informs her that she'll be rid of many of the Tyrells soon. Mace is taking half their force to Storm's End, and the rest are going with Garland to take Brightwater. Lady Olenna will also be leaving on the morrow.
At the feast, Cersei is in a constant state of fear for Tommen. She recalls a prophecy from an old woman named Maggie the Frog. The woman told Cersei she'd be queen, but one day a younger, more beautiful queen would cast her down and take all that she holds dear. Back in the hall, more cheers ring for the young queen and the old queen. Certainly to make Cersei all the happier. Being called the old queen.
She loves that.
Cersei pays it all little mind. Her focus is on her son.
And when he starts to cough, Cersei rushes to his side. It's only some wine that went down the wrong way, but it's all too much for Cersei. She leaves the hall down a back passage. Alone, the queen lets out a sob. However, it seems she's not alone. Tyanna Merryweather followed her out of the hall. The woman tells Cersei that Cersei's maid is a spy for Queen Margaery. When Cersei questions why one of Margaery's own companions would spill this secret, Tyanna says her loyalty is to her own husband and son. She wants the best for them.
Cersei smells ambition, recalling how Tyanna testified that she'd seen Tyrion put the poison in Joffrey's cup before he died. Cersei thanks the woman and returns to the hall. She surveys the court and determines they're all useless, including her brother Jaime. She'll need to replace them all with her own people. She notices conversation partners around the room and rejects Jaime's offer to a dance, before standing and asking all patrons to follow her outside to light a candle.
Outside, those in attendance watch as Cersei gives Helene the Pyromancer the go-ahead, and he signals for archers to launch flaming arrows into the Tower of the Hand. In seconds, it becomes a towering inferno. Cersei thinks about all the hands of the kings she's known, but especially her father. They're all burning now. They're dead and gone. It's her turn, her castle, her kingdom. As the night grows late, the spectators head for bed. Jaime offers to escort his sister. However, she sends him away. It is Sir Osmond Kettleblack who she chooses to keep her company while she watches the beauty of the tower burning.
We'll be right back.
Hello, friends. Are you ready to make some unforgettable memories? Well, if so, consider the Marriott Bonvoy program. Discover the perfect destination for your summer getaway and unlock exclusive deals on luxurious accommodations. With our affiliate partnership, you'll enjoy unbeatable savings and a seamless booking experience. Don't let summer slip away. Visit Marriott Bonvoy today and make this vacation season one for the books. Use our Ghosts of Harrenhal affiliate page to check it all out and buy Bonvoy points or give some as a gift. The link to our page is in the show notes.
So,
wow, Cersei. Her chapters they're both really, we overuse this word, but they're really interesting. There's usually, because they're King's Landing chapters, and it's kind of the center of the world, center of our story, there's usually jam-packed with information, but her chapters are exhausting with the negativity. Oh, jeez.
They're also not as interesting because her plans are always so sort of myopic. They're always sort of like, remove my enemy and put in an ally. And this ally is just a cutout figure that she hasn't thought of who it might be yet,
Right. The only qualification is that they're loyal to her.
Right. So basically that means it's Taena Merryweather will be every position in the small council before we know it, because it's the only person who seems to do what she wants.
Yeah, I mean, basically being in her head confirms what we could have guessed from the outside, if not surpassing it. She really does nothing not calculated to be in her best interest, like you said. Mostly short-term things, not able... She's even really struggled seeing down the road how short-term pain will lead to long-term gain.
Yeah.
And as we mentioned in the summary, certainly her mood was not helped by Cheers referring to her as the old queen and Marjorie the young queen.
Sure.
So
for sure. Yeah, I mean, and obviously there's a degree of sort of sympathy here because part of what's messing with her head at the moment is her terror for her children, for her remaining children, And that's totally understandable, and anyone would feel the same way.
Absolutely.
But that is only part of it. Even when she's not having those problems, she's still not thinking strategically. She's still not... I mean, what would she... she says at the end of this chapter that it's her kingdom now. What are her plans for it? Other than to dominate it. I mean, it's just like... It's sort of like...
She wants the kingdom to serve her rather than her serve the kingdom.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Now, I get that she's in a bad mood. She's, upset. She's sad. She's grieving because she lost her son and father in pretty quick succession there.
And don't forget her husband. Oh, wait. No. Do forget her husband. She caused that one.
Yeah, that's right. But it's just So I get the mood. I get why I even understand how she's seeing everything in such a negative light. It's the selfishness and the inability to see beyond one immediate plot point that almost in every instance goes back to serving her the best.
Yeah.
That I struggle with, that I think is a major problem here.
Yeah. Well, we'd skipped it in the recap, but for breakfast she ordered eggs, and when she cracked open one of the eggs, it was a half-formed chick, which I don't think that's ever happened to me. Has that ever happened to you?
No, thank goodness.
Sounds pretty gruesome. It's also, I mean, presumably people have been thinking about this quite a bit, because there's sort of like, it feels heavy with symbolism, like, you know, she's breaking open a child before it was ready, sort of thing, sort of like go to Tommen.
I see that. Yes, I had not thought of that.
The child is hatching before it's ready to,
Yes, I had not thought of that symbolism. Yes, I posted it on the Buy Me a Coffee Sustainer channel of our Discord server, and I think Jenny and Derek and I all kind of felt like it was symbolism for possibly foreshadowing a failed pregnancy in her future. Something along those lines.
Or perhaps Tommen and Marjorie will struggle to have children. I wondered about that, given that it was their wedding morning.
Right. Yeah, that too. That could be. It's all just guesswork, to my knowledge anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I mean, she's, as always, dismissive of Jaime's efforts to keep Tommen safe, but I mean, he's doing everything in his powers, although why you would hire a comedian, I don't know.
Fantastic anecdotes.
But I mean, again, we totally get the impulse to be overprotective at this point. But I mean,
oh yes, absolutely.
And the weird thing is, she sort of says, but they might attack a different way this time. He's like, yeah, but we've got the King's Guard. He said, well, they didn't do any good last time. He's like, well, I've just told you we're protecting him against poison.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and so as I was reading this part over this past week, I was thinking, if Tyrion had been honest with Jaime and said, no, I didn't kill your son, would he still be going along with the farce of tearing up the Tower of the Hand looking for him? Or would he tell Cersei, he's gone, he's gone, put it aside. But because the fact that Tyrion told Jaime, yes, I killed your son, do you think there's some of Jaime that thinks maybe he is still in these walls somewhere, even though Jaime knows that the plan was for Varys to shuttle him onto a ship and escape King's Landing?
But the one thing that I still don't get, and I mean, maybe it's just my sort of rose-tinted view of this, is I don't know why anyone believes it was Tyrion. Even Jaime. Jaime's the one person who's got an excuse for believing it was Tyrion.
Right.
But nobody else does. Tyrion stood there holding the cup like an idiot. Not like a poisoner,
Yes. Right, yes.
Meanwhile, his wife absconded. Why wasn't he absconding at the same time? He was clearly innocent of it.
Yeah, you make a really good point with that. Yeah, you're right.
Now, I can totally understand choosing to sort of double think, believe that he did it, even though you witnessed him not doing it, because the Queen, who is a holy terror, tells you he did it. Oh, okay, yeah, I remember now.
Oh, right.
I can be saying a yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, we've been saying this several times that Tyrion has been living rent-free in Cersei's head, but I think it's no longer rent-free. I think it's advanced to mortgage-free, because she's willing to burn down this entire tower hunting him. Now, she says to Jaime, when he says, you still planning on doing it? She says, our father died in this tower. I can't stand to look at it any longer. But at the end of the chapter, when she's watching it burn, and she's thinking of all the hands of the king that she's known that lived in that tower, it's her father she fixates on and thinks, he's dead and burning. Yeah. It's my turn now.
In many respects, she's burning away the memory of them, and she's creating a fresh start for herself by doing this. She doesn't care about seeing the tower. She could see it every day.
Yes, I agree. And I think a good portion of it, I think you're right. There's a cathartic situation going on here. And also, this is where Tyrion lived. He was the hand of the king. And this is where he killed her father. And maybe he's still in that tower somewhere.
Yeah. So the battle over Tommen begins. I mean, Tommen is still very young and impressionable. And the Tyrells want him and Marjorie to sleep together in the same bed. I mean, obviously that's weird. But at the same time, it would be bonding, I mean, look at Sansa and Sweet Robin. No, that's not a good example. But of course they would. I mean, if you sleep with the same person, even if that person is 10 years younger than you, you're going to sort of tell stories to each other and sort of like,
sure.
You will fondly stroke their hair when they fall asleep, kind of thing. It's natural enough. Cersei wants none of that, of course, because the last thing she wants is Tommen to fall in love with this woman.
Yes, that is true. Yes, we've definitely, you can see the beginnings of a wife versus mother battle royale going on here, And yeah, I mean, I agree. I would rarely side with Cersei, but it is kind of weird that they insist on them sleeping together. Tommen's about 8, Marjorie's 16.
Some of it is exactly what Jaime said. They want evidence that this is a real wedding. Right. Now, he's too young to actually consummate it, but the fact that they're in bed together makes it a lot more legitimate than if they didn't. Because they can well believe that Cersei might try to put them aside at some later date. So that's why they want it.
Yeah. And I will say that Olenna she must be feeling pretty secure because
she is zinger-tastic against Cersei this episode.
Yes, there was at least two.
Yeah, the one where,
comments.
Well, we at least know you're his mother.
Yes,
that comment.
Her Grace is the boy's mother. Of that, we are certain. And then later, when they're arguing over which cloak Tommen should put around Marjorie, she says, in my day, we would put the father's cloak around the bride. And, being that Tommen is surely Robert's true son, then you'd want to use a Baratheon cloak, right?
I think if I was a Tyrell, I'd be like, Gran, I know you're going to die soon, but you don't have to ruin it for all of us before you go.
Right, don't take us all with you.
Exactly. And then something gets said that I need you to explain to me. So, Jaime says that he's too young to consummate the wedding, but to consummate the marriage. But Cersei responds that Ossifer Plum was too dead to conceive. What is this about?
Yes. So, do you remember back when Dany was talking to Brown Ben Plum, and he was mentioning how he has a drop of the dragon blood in him because the dragons seem to take to him a little bit.
Yes.
And in background, he also had mentioned that he claimed he was a descendant of a man with a 6-foot male part.
Okay, yeah, okay.
And now that was Ossifer Plum lived a long time ago. So, I think maybe Brown Ben took what was kind of just a joke and took it and turned it into a real thing. I had said in background that Ossifer Plum was said to have died before consummating his marriage to Aelena Targaryen, yet she became pregnant with their son Viserys Plum. So that's why they say, because he died before they consummate, that's why they say he had a 6-foot long male part, because he buried 6 feet deep.
Gotcha.
So there you go. That's what she was referring to.
Gotcha. So Cersei dreams of building a new royal castle on the southern bank of the Blackwater, which is interesting because if you think about the Battle of the Blackwater, that was where the enemy was able to encamp themselves because it's not really defended the way that King's Landing is. It doesn't have city walls. Now, you could build walls around it, but feels like it would be a little bit of a risk. But you might be able to build a bridge or get a ferry system going.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a ferry system now taking you across the Blackwater from King's Landing. The biggest advantage that King's Landing has, especially the Red Keep, is the Red Keep sits on Aegon's High Hill, which gives it a defensive advantage that would not be present on the southern side. There is it's the end of a river and beginning of a bay, so there are peninsulas on both sides, You could build it in the corner, just like the Red Keep is built in the corner of the northern side, and that would give it some strategic advantage. And you could put walls up, just like King's Landing has. So it's not a terrible idea. I mean, the Red Keep isn't as royal and nice as other castles in the realm are. I think one of the biggest issues is that the crown is in huge debt.
I was going to say the same thing. Yes, that it's. They've just had a modest royal wedding for the first time ever.
Yes. And now, of course, Cersei is the Lady of Casterly Rock, so she could fund it herself. And, the crown is, half of the crown's debt is to the Lannisters, so I guess she could forgive that half of the debt. Now, Tywin wasn't willing to do that, and he wasn't willing to spend his own money on such things, but Cersei, as we know, Cersei thinks about Cersei.
Yes, so. Very true. Very true.
And it comes up when Jaime says that they might burn down the Red Keep if the fire gets out of hand. And Cersei says, well, let all King's Landing see the flames of the Red Keep burning. It'll be a lesson to our enemies. And Jaime says, now you sound like Ares. And we're certainly starting to see a little wee bit of things, She's starting to get kind of involved in this wildfire thing, just like Ares did. He started to become obsessed with fire and wildfire. She had pyromancers creating wildfire before Tyrion even got involved in that plan for the Battle of the Blackwater. And we know that, like I said, Aerys became obsessed with fire on his descent into madness. He was burning people alive like he did with the Starks. He had the plot to blow up King's Landing with wildfire, and he made Rosart, a pyromancer, his hand of the king. So, I'm not saying she is, neck and neck with Aerys, but
there is certainly a nihilism to Cersei, which fits. And that nihilism is exacerbated by losing her friends the way she is at the moment. That she can't get Jaime to do what she wants. She can't get Kevin to do what she wants. She's lost Joffrey. She's losing Tommen to the Tyrells, kind of thing.
She's lost Myrcella.
Myrcella, yeah. So she's increasingly isolated, and she has that nihilistic tendency, which could feed into sort of the madness that Aerys demonstrated for sure.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Very true.
She describes Jaime as a wretched creature that she questions how she could have ever loved him, and that is, well, it's not terribly new, but it's pretty 180 degrees from how she's always treated him. But she is also kind of fickle, the next time he does her a favor, he'll be back in her good graces, I feel.
Like when he suggested the dinner and she was mad, and then he said, "This is how you get Mace Tyrell out of town and maybe killed." And she thought, you kind of remind me of father, which is disturbing on its on a whole nother level.
Yes.
But, and as we've been saying, we know she's in a bad place. Lost her son, lost her father. As you've pointed out, she's becoming very isolated. She's lost most of the people that she's really close with. But I still feel like it's a pretty major revelation on her feelings toward Jaime. And we've heard both of their internal thoughts on each other, and neither seem to be in a good place with the other right now.
True.
But hers seem to be much more condemning of Jaime than Jaime's are of Cersei. She, in this chapter alone, she says nasty things to him on multiple occasions, and he simply responds the same way both times. "I love you too, sweet sister."
Yeah. But of all the people in the world, who do you say the nastiest things to? It's your siblings, right?
Sure. Yeah.
I would never say the things I say to my siblings, I would never say to another human being. Sorry, I would never say to a human being. You see, that's the kind of thing I wouldn't say to another human being.
Right. Yeah. But she also rejected him harshly when he asked her to dance. "I don't want you fumbling at me with that stump." And the amount of times in these 3 chapters that she has either called or considered him a fool is surprisingly high. So, maybe she's sensing a change in him since his travels with Brienne. He's more level-headed, less conspiratorial, less full of spite and venom and hubris and pride and all the things that Cersei really enjoys in herself. And probably.
Yeah, again, I think if you want to see Cersei treat Jaime differently, just wait till the next chapter.
Maybe. As you mentioned in the summary, the wedding is a pretty small affair by any major house wedding in Westeros, but especially a royal wedding. Less than 100 guests, as you mentioned. And Cersei couldn't even bring herself to plan it. She's still too much in mourning over Joffrey. And she really struggles, and she gets incredibly angry at Marjorie, not outwardly, but in her head, with not being able to understand why the rest of the world is moving on. And, she's still so much mourning for him.
Yeah, well, this is the narcissistic part of her, because why would Marjorie mourn Joffrey? She was married to him for half an hour,
Yes.
She has no connection to the guy. And the rest of the world, they need their king to be married and having children. They're going to be ready to move on, get used to it, As a lady of a great house, the way the world works.
Yeah, and of course, it's mentioned in the chapter, I don't think we mentioned in the summary, but she wears black to this wedding, which definitely makes a statement. So.
We'll be right back.
This episode is sponsored by Audible. To get a free audiobook, or 2 if you're an Amazon Prime member, go to our exclusive URL, audibletrial.com/ghostsharrenhal. You can find the link in our show notes.
Yeah. So twice in this chapter, Cersei recalls a woman who gave her a prophecy. And tell me if I'm wrong, but this is the first we've heard of this prophecy.
It's the first we've heard of this prophecy, but we have had Maggie the Frog referenced to us before.
Oh. Yes. So Maggie the Frog was the prophet, right?
Yeah.
Prophetess.
So twice, yeah. So like you said, twice in this chapter, she thinks about Maggie the Frog. The first time she just refers to her as an old hag, but the second time she thinks about her when she sees Olenna, and her mind goes to Maggie the Frog, which is the woman's name. So, yes, we've heard about her previously in a kind of not specifically spelled out sort of way. Back in A Storm of Swords, Kevin told us that Sybil and Rolf Spicer, who are Jane Westerling's mother and uncle, respectively, had a grandmother who was a Magi from Essos. And, of course, Magi is likely where Maggie came from.
Okay.
Maggie the Frog was likely she's from Essos. They probably took Magi and turned it into Maggie in Lannisport, or, in the Westerlands.
You think the same woman?
Yes.
Oh,
because
interesting.
So we've discussed previously in our spoiler talk about Maggie based on something that happened earlier that Cersei was thinking about. Now here's the quote that here's a part of the prophecy that we get in this chapter. Queen you shall be until there comes another, younger and more beautiful, to cast you down and take all you hold dear.
That sounds pretty on the nose for what's going on right here.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yes, very
and
much.
All you hold dear?
Right.
Is Marjorie going to marry Myrcella? And Jaime?
And take her title as queen? Yeah, and be more beautiful than her?
She is going to do that, yes, for sure.
Here's the things that she holds dear, right? Her children, her new status as the queen of Westeros, and her beauty.
Are you saying that there's more to this prophecy that we'll learn later?
There just might be. In fact, there's more we'll talk about in spoilers.
Okay,
today.
You might have to cut me off during TV talk then, because the prophecy in the TV show is longer, and I wonder if it's the same words. Okay,
I'm sure it will be similar.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, as you said, I mean, this is pretty on the nose. The younger, they keep. Someone says the young queen is just as beautiful as the old queen, and of course, so logically, Cersei thinks that it's Marjorie, but we know that it could possibly be Daenerys Targaryen.
That's true.
The prophecy could be about.
True. Very true.
What if it was Myrcella?
It could be Myrcella too.
What if Dorne announces Myrcella, as the queen of the Seven Kingdoms? And
but
she's younger and beautiful too.
It is literally true of Marjorie, right? I mean, Marjorie is now queen.
Right.
And therefore, Cersei's title sort of goes away. She becomes the Queen Mother.
Right.
Or the Dowager Queen. Yes.
Right. Yes. Yeah, we'll talk a little more about it in spoilers.
All right. So Kevin is headed out of town to Darry for the marriage of his son Lancel to Armory Frey. The broken men have finally been cleared out of the castle there, so it can now be occupied again. Lancel was not thrilled with this arrangement, if I recall correctly.
Right. He started to say it's a farce. He's still in love with, and Cersei cut him off. Uh-huh. But, we also see the fallout of Kevin telling Cersei that he wants to be King Regent or Castellan of Casterly Rock, and that she should go be the Lady of Casterly Rock. And that fallout is she names one cousin, Damien, as Castellan of Casterly Rock, and another cousin, Davin, as Warden of the West. So, she thinks to herself, I not going along with the dissent has its
consequences,
has its punishment.
Yeah. But there's not a bridge she won't burn. I mean, Kevin is one of the very few people who cares about her, and he's going to care a lot less after this.
Yes, and there's one little description toward the end of the feast, where she sees Kevin talking with Garland Tyrell, and it makes Cersei uneasy. And, likely it's just this growing paranoia that everyone is noticing. But he did tell her he was not someone to be made an enemy of, that he has teeth and he can bite back. So, who knows? Possibly there was something going on in that conversation that she should worry about.
It's not like he was making a bid for a minor position. He was making a bid to be her superior.
Right.
And maybe there are other ways to that if she won't agree to it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's about making Davin Lannister Warden of the West. I feel like I have a slightly better plan that would have accomplished the same thing and might have helped her out a little more.
Go to town.
So Jaime is currently Warden of the East, made so by King Robert when Jon Arryn died.
Yes.
We know the Vale has been upset about that since then and refuses to acknowledge it.
Very much so.
So why not make Jaime Warden of the West and make a Vale man like Bronze Jon Royce Warden of the East? We know, and probably, I know that that Pycelle gets news. The Red Keep gets news from the Vale because they've broken a little bit of news to us about what's going on there. So we know that the Vale Lords are angry that Lysa didn't enter the war on Robb's side. So maybe this would help win them to the Lannister side.
That is a really good plan, Mackelly.
Well, thank you. But unfortunately, Cersei is only interested in nepotism and appointing her people.
And paying debts. And by paying debts, I mean punishing people who cross her.
Yes. Okay. I just think my plan would have worked better, but no one consulted me, so...
Yeah. And also, it might have led to a sort of, she still wants to get Jaime to give up the White Cloak. And being Warden of the West might be a way to do it, because they could conceivably go take Casterly Rock as a couple, Leave Tommen and the Tyrells and go live as a couple. And it's never going to happen, but there's always the chance.
Not, but yeah.
So the rumours are that the Hound has been riding with the Brotherhood without banners and raping, murdering, specifically around Salt Pans gets a mention. It does make sense geographically because that's where Arya was on the road to Salt Pans when she left him to die. The man fits the Hound's description and is wearing the Hound's head helmet. So there aren't many people who would fit the Hound's description.
or fit that helmet, probably.
Exactly,
he's a big guy.
Could it be true? We believed that he was dead, or at least dying. But you know who runs with the Brotherhood without banners? One Thoros of Myr.
Yes, right.
A gentleman for whom the Vale is a two-way street.
Yes. Very true, very true. Now, but we have spent plenty of time with Sandor Clegane around both Sansa and Arya.
Yes, I know what you're going to say.
And yeah, he was creepy around Sansa before he left King's Landing, but he never touched her, despite her remembered kiss, which we do not recall from the description of the scene. And he never touched Arya. So it just doesn't feel like his modus operandi to be raping girls and raiding villages.
Right, and they literally said he raped a 12-year-old girl. And as soon as I read that, I went, I don't believe that that's Sandor Clegane anymore, because that he would not do that. He has his code. His code is not my code, but that's one of the things that's outside of his code.
Yes. And also, they're insinuating that he's riding with the Brotherhood without banners, and that would be a major change of heart between him and Beric Dondarrion since we last saw them fighting to the death. Now, not saying that it couldn't change, but that would be a major departure. And he wasn't with the men who hung Merritt Frey. He wasn't in that group. Not that that's a complete group, but he wasn't there.
Yep.
We'll talk about more in spoilers.
Okay. So Tommen's cough brings Cersei to tears. She runs out of the hall. Tyenna Merryweather is bold enough to follow. She then informs Cersei that the maid Senelle is spying on her for Marjorie. Tyenna says she's telling her because she wants what's best for her family. It's a pretty bold statement of her ambition and the fact that she's willing to betray her. I mean, she's a Tyrell. I mean, she's not directly a Tyrell, but she's a Tyrell bannerman. Is that right?
Yeah, she's one of Marjorie's
friends.
Women, yes. Right, yeah.
But she's willing to betray that for social favors. And I think it's kind of like the secret to Cersei's heart. You know, be pretty. That's one thing. Do Cersei favors.
That's the big one.
Don't try to hide your ambition. Don't try to pretend that you're doing her favors out of the kindness of your heart. Right. Tell her, I'm doing it because I want something. And she respects that, Cersei.
Yeah. In fact, when Mace Tyrell was hinting around about wanting to be Hand of the King, she thought, just have the courage to ask me straight out.
Right. You know? Yep.
So, but could it be true? Senelle, a spy for Marjorie Tyrell? If so, Marjorie is more cunning than she is made out to be. That's for sure.
I would imagine, I mean, not to demean Marjorie, but I would think she's a spy for the Tyrells.
Sure. We know Olenna is cunning. She was involved in Joffrey's murder plot. Littlefinger told us about that.
And think about, if Tyenna's as smart as she comes across, Tyenna might think to herself, which of the Tyrells should I name by name when I'm saying who Senelle works for? Which one would annoy Cersei the most?
Right, which has the most bang for my buck?
Which name would annoy the old queen the most?
Maybe she hadn't decided yet until she heard new queen and young queen and old queen. Exactly. She's like, I know which way I'm going with this one.
Yeah.
But we do know Tyenna she's not afraid to put herself out there. She lied about seeing Tyrion put poison in Joffrey's cup.
She did. She's a mover and a shaker, this one.
Yeah. And Tyenna is from Myr, just like Serala Darklyn was from Myr. Serala Darklyn was, remember from Jenny's background about Dantas and House Hollard, the small folk blamed the fall of House Darklyn on her, claimed that she talked her husband, Dennis, into rebelling against the crown, leading to the defiance of Duskendale. Well, she was also Myrish. So maybe there's, maybe Myrish are ambitious sorts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, just
Tower of the Hand is no more. And as you've been saying, that Tyrion's living rent-free in... he's living rent-free somewhere. In particular in Cersei's head.
Hopefully not in the tower.
Yes. I will say that if she wants to get him out of her head, then burning the tower isn't going to do it. She's going to need to drink the wildfire. That's the only way to get him out of there, I feel. Right.
Yes.
Which, given the path she's on, may be a natural consequence, honestly.
As she's standing there, I should say, she wasn't sitting, watching the tower burn and just reveling in it, I started to wonder, is the pressure and desire to rule causing Cersei to descend into madness, as Jaime suggested that she was starting to sound like King Aerys. Now, you pointed out that she's also been really isolated and had a lot of loss.
Yeah, but she's compounding her isolation with her choices and actions. That's not... Tyenna Merryweather perhaps will keep her sane.
Maybe. We'll see, I guess. Maybe they'll become best of friends. Cersei seems like the type that really needs a best friend.
Honestly, she does, but she doesn't seem like the kind of person who's going to achieve that. But
it would really help, actually, if she had someone that she could consider a best friend. But there was something that came up on the A Song of Ice and Fire Facebook page this week, and it got me thinking. In Cersei 1, there is this moth that's trapped in the lantern, and she keeps coming back to it, even though she just found out her father died. She keeps thinking about that moth. I wish it would die. Why don't you just go into the flame and die? And I wondered, could that be a metaphor about Cersei? Actually, this was debated on the Facebook page. I shouldn't just say that I wondered it. It was debated on the post. Could that be a metaphor for Cersei, that her desire for absolute power is the flame, and she is the moth trapped inside its gravitational pull?
Yeah.
So I thought it was worthy of bringing up right now as we're talking about her desire to absolute rule.
And as a metaphor, it kind of works, because typically this kind of power eats you up, you know?
Right.
And that's how that moth will end, and quite possibly how Cersei will too.
Yes.
So Cersei chooses Osmond Kettleblack to accompany her and sending Jaime away. She probably think that's a move to make Jaime jealous. But you have a different thought about that? You don't think that will work?
Well, we know something that Jaime knows, that Cersei doesn't know that Jaime knows. We know that Tyrion has told Jaime that she has been sleeping with Sir Osmond Kettleblack. So, yes, I do think it will work.
Yeah.
I think it might work too well, because we've been in Jaime's head. We know that Tyrion's words about sleeping with Osmond Kettleblack and Lancel and Moonboy, for all he knows, has been playing in a loop in his head the whole time. And I just wonder what this might cause. I know she's likely just trying to lash out at Jaime because he hasn't been on her side as much as she would like. But might it go beyond that? I guess is what I'm saying.
All right. Now we're going to have a quick interlude for spoilers for our upper tiers of the Buy Me a Coffee sustainers. Join us there for spoiler talk. Do you have some background for us?
Sure. So as we were talking about, Cersei made her cousin Damian Lannister Castellan of Casterly Rock, and another cousin Devon Lannister Warden of the West, even though I think that should have gone to Jaime, but that's just me. So how do these two Lannisters fit into the family tree? Well, I'm about to tell you. So Damian is the son of Daemon Lannister, and Daemon was the son of Jason Lannister. Daemon was also the older half-brother of Cersei's mother, Joanna, through their father, Jason. Following me so far?
Yep, because Jason was the younger brother of Tywin.
Jason was the younger brother of Tywin's father, Titus.
Oh, Tywin's father, yes. He's one more back. Yeah.
Right. Because remember, Joanna and Tywin are first cousins.
First cousins, yes.
Yes. So Daemon is Cersei's half-uncle, and Damian is Cersei's half-first cousin. Now, Damian's mother is also a Lannister, Ella Lannister, but now we're getting too far into the weeds to do anyone any good, so I'm going to stop with that part right there. Now, Davin, we've actually heard mention of Davin before. In Clash of Kings, Stafford Lannister was tasked with raising a new Lannister army to challenge Robb's force. And Brendan Blackfish Tully told Cat that Stafford is a bit of a dullard, but his son Davin is more formidable. Now, Stafford, who is Devon's father, Stafford was the younger brother to Joanna, half-brother to Daemon. So Davin is first cousin to Cersei.
Yeah, got it.
Okay.
Comparison with the television show, the two parts to this. Season 5 opens, the very first scene of season 5 is a young Cersei visiting Maggie the Frog with a young friend who I guess was Melara Heatherspoon, although I don't think she's ever named. Cersei is extremely bold for a child of her age, even when she's told by Maggie that she has to cut her own thumb and Maggie needs to drink her blood in order to give the prophecy. She just goes ahead and does it, and Maggie sucks the thumb, and the prophecy is slightly different. She's not given a prophecy. She's told she can ask 3 questions. And she asks when she will marry the prince, because she's promised to Rhaegar.
Yes.
And Maggie says, you'll never wed the prince. You'll marry the king.
Uh-huh.
And then the conversation sort of like goes on a bit, so you can't actually tell what the 3 questions are. But then she says, you'll be queen for a time until a younger, more beautiful one replaces you.
Okay, that fits with what we've got here.
And then she says, the king will have 20 children. You will have 3. Okay. Gold their crowns and gold their shrouds.
All right. I think in the story here, a very minor difference, she's going to say the king will have 10 and 6, and you will have 3. But close enough.
That's the 4 she missed. It's the 4 who got away.
Yes, I guess so.
And then this also happens a bit later in season 5, episode 3. Cersei goes to the wedding is in the Sept of Baelor again. Cersei goes to the wedding in a palanquin. The people can't see inside, and they're all shouting for Queen Marjorie. Cersei is annoyed.
I bet.
The wedding is sealed with a kiss. The Tommen actor was replaced, and this one is actually taller than Marjorie. So it's not quite so crazy. I mean, he's very young, but he is taller than her. They most assuredly consummate the marriage. Tommen is obviously a virgin, and Marjorie acts in a way that would make you think that she was not a virgin.
Okay.
Marjorie starts to slide the wedge in between Tommen and Cersei. Does she like it here? You'll always be her little boy, a lioness with her cub, and you can see how it's getting into his head. While she's here, I'll be infantilized, kind of thing.
Sure.
The next scene is Tommen and Cersei, and he's broaching the subject of her going home. And she's not very pleased about that and knows the source of it. The next scene after that is Marjorie and Cersei. And Marjorie's talking to her ladies in waiting, and they're all laughing about Tommen's sexual exploits.
In front of Cersei?
No, Cersei arrives at that point.
Okay.
And Marjorie says, I wish we had some wine for you. It's a bit early in the day for us. And what is the proper way to address you now? Dowager or Queen Mother? So, these things are... It's all happening. And the destruction of the Tower of the Hand is completely skipped. It was just dropped.
Huh. Okay. All right.
Pedantry, I didn't see any pedantry in this one. There's a lot going on, but too much for pedantry.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. I probably read it 4 times and didn't pick up on anything, so I'm good with skipping.
News and notes.
Well, so if you want to watch the premiere of House of the Dragon Season 2 while rubbing shoulders with the actors and other famous people, you are in luck, because a website called Charity Buzz is holding an auction where the winner and a friend will do just that, plus attend the after party. The official premiere will be held on June 3rd in New York City. The bidding is available until May 21st. And if you want to toss your hat in the ring, just head on over to charitybuzz.com. I checked, the current top bid was $3,050, although it says it's expected to reach around $15,000.
That would be really cool. I mean, it's a little rich for my blood, but it would be a lot of fun.
It would be really cool.
And just today, actually, the actor who plays Kevin Lannister passed away. Ian Gelder was his name. He was 75. I tell you what, I don't have an awful lot of sort of like nationalism about being British. I like all countries. I don't favour Britain or America over other countries. I'm glad I live here. I'm happy here. But I mean, live and let live across all the countries, say I.
Sure.
British actors do make me quite proud, because they always seem to just be consummately good at what they do without so much fuss. I always remember Robert Altman directed Gosford Park, and it was a big ensemble cast, all British. And he had directed many movies, all in the States. And he said he couldn't believe how easy it was to work with British actors. He said they were there on time, they were ready, they knocked it out, they didn't laugh.
Right.
And so
very cool.
Ian Gelder is the typical British actor, and so sorry to see him go.
Yes, rest in peace. And we got a really nice review from Patricio on Apple Podcasts US. And I'll just read it for you. The subject is Awesome Companion to the Books. If you're reading the A Song of Ice and Fire series, this show will enhance your experience significantly and make you enjoy the series much more. It doesn't matter if you've watched the TV show or not, but the focus is on the books and the world and story that George Martin has built. Mackelly, Simon, and Jenny
Hey.
do a great job for every episode to cover where the character was, describe the context and the relevant plot points for the story that sometimes happen many chapters or even books before. I love how the team always questions the motivations and intentions of the characters. This helps me understand and appreciate how more deeply George Martin has thought through many of what is happening, and also how he has constructed depth to many of the characters in the story. I started to read the books about 2 months ago, and now I am in sync with the episodes. This podcast has helped me to enjoy the reading experience much more. Apple doesn't make it easy to figure out how to review podcast shows, but I figured it out after some research. Therefore, leaving a review reflects how good the show is. Thank you guys for the hard work. Keep it going.
Thank you, Patricio. That's really nice of you. And sorry, it is work to review on Apple Podcasts, and we appreciate you going the extra mile. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Great review.
Okay, let's conclude. So Cersei, certainly in a bad place mentally, and again, as I've said, I worry about her future mental state as she sheds genuine friends and loved ones.
Yes. Is the pressure and loss beginning to get to her? She's convinced that everyone around her is either a fool or a conspirator, including Jaime, which, as you mentioned, one of the remaining people who was supposed to be her, shall I say, rock?
Oh, nice.
She thinks she needs to sweep them all out, including Jaime, and replace them with her people. But the problem is, as we've been saying, she's running out of people.
Right. Her people are going to be people she doesn't know. I mean, they're going to be people like the Kettle Blacks. Yes, exactly. They're going to be people that get recommended to her or sort of like suck up to her now, and she's going to end up with a worse set of people than the people she's trying to oust.
Right. Like I said earlier, the only qualification will be, are you showing loyalty to Cersei? Are you doing things that she likes?
Overtly.
Yes.
That's the real kicker of it. She can't think that people who are giving her what she wants might have ulterior motives, you know?
Yeah. And Cersei and Jaime are in a really bad place with each other. And like I said earlier, I think Cersei's in a worse place with Jaime than Jaime is with Cersei, but they're definitely not clicking on all cylinders.
No, but I do think, like you said, his newfound view on life is making him more forgiving of her outbursts towards him. But there's only so much you can swallow. I mean, she's absolutely, virulent towards him at the moment, and that's non-sustainable.
Right.
The Tyrells have got what they wanted. Marjorie is queen for more than 10 minutes, so that's success.
And, is she going to begin to exert influence over Tommen? If so, I can guarantee Cersei's not going to like that.
No. Like I said, in the TV show, she certainly does. But in the TV show, their age gap is, he could be the king. He would be a young king, but he could be the king. He's not a baby,
Right.
In the TV show, in the book, Tommen's he's a non-character, really.
Right. Well, as you said, the Tyrells are getting what they finally want, and the Lannisters are getting what they want, even though Cersei is really struggling to see it, and that is getting the Tyrells out of King's Landing.
Yes, indeed. Yep. A new dawn for her. All her enemies gone, all her friends gone, and she's just left with I don't know what.
Yeah. Although, with all these Tyrells leaving King's Landing, and us knowing Cersei's inner hatred for Marjorie, it does lead you to worry a little bit about Marjorie.
That's true. Might be glad that Loras Tyrell is on the King's Guard.
Yes, but he is but one.
Mm-hmm. True enough. So next week we have another chapter which is named for a character but not by name. This is the Soiled Knight. Maybe we'll find out who this faux hound is.
Maybe it's Sir Dontas Hollard?
Maybe
we find out he's still alive.
Yeah, wait.
I'm sure he soiled some things in his day.
All right. There's 4 ways that you could help us. You could leave us a positive review like Patricio did. There's no better way to spread the word. You could buy merchandise at ghostsofharrenhal.threadless.com. You could buy us a cup of Arbor Gold at buymeacoffee.com/ghostsharrenhal. There you could join us at any of the various sustainer levels. There's a tier to match your budget and interest, and the upper tiers get you the spoiler section. Or you can just make a donation directly to us at our website, ghostsofharrenhal.buzzsprout.com.
And if you're looking for more ways to interact with us, keeping up on the latest Ghost of Harrenhal news and developments, well, you can check us out on our social medias. You can follow us on Twitter at Ghost Harrenhal. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Discord, and YouTube.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.